Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, February 13th, 2026. I am Dave Biddle, very happy joined by Jonah Booker. My man, even on Friday the 13th, it's BTA Fridays. It is BTA Fridays. Good to see you as always. We're less than a month away from spring ball kicking off, so Jay Book and I are going to get into, did the Buckeyes check all the necessary boxes this offseason as far as player acquisitions, coaching hirings? One of the interesting things is, like, they know their team now because of the one-time transfer window. It's not going to be guys coming in the summer, other than very few guys in the 2026 recruiting class. So we're going to get into that. We're going to answer some of your questions. J-Book, I'll just turn it over to you, my man. Do you feel like the Ohio State checked all their necessary boxes this offseason? And if not, what are some boxes you wish would have been checked a little better?
I do think they checked all the boxes. Going into the offseason, Dave, you know what the number one issue was for me? Take a guess.
Kicker.
Hey, you know me too well, man. Special teams, kicker, that was my one area that I'm like, whatever happens, you need to get that figured out, because I truly believe the lack of special teams play at a high level has cost Ryan Day maybe a national championship, maybe this Ohio State team or program being considered as one of the dynasty elites. There are still elite as far as college football, don't get me wrong, but I'm talking about that rare air of dynasty where consistently playing in the national championship. And I think a large part of that was because of the special teams. So getting that figured out, that right there was one of my biggest things that I wanted to see addressed. And how do you like it, man? Doubling down, tripling down, like bringing in the Notre Dame walk-on kicker this week as well. So Ryan Day's checking all the boxes when it comes to the special teams, bringing in a designated coach. And that's one of the biggest things for me, Dave, because the way they had it structured as far as position coaches being in charge of special teams, they only have so much time, because their main focus, where they're making their bread and butter, is with their position groups. If, for example, Brian Hartline or James Laurinaitis is running the special teams group, majority of their focus is going to be on making sure that wide receiver room is elite. That's where they're going to be graded at. Would they give all of their effort to try to fix any potential problems on special teams? Now that you have an actual coach whose sole focus is, hey, what's broken? How do we fix it? How do we become the best special teams in all of college football? And from the time that he walks into the Woody to the time that he leaves, that's his singular focus. Hopefully, he's better than Parker Fleming, because they have Parker Fleming doing that. I do think this guy will be much better. He has over 10 years of experience coaching special teams. So that alone, to me, Dave, makes it a very successful offseason. And then just adding in all of the other portal pieces, bringing in Arthur Smith, I think Dave did a really good job this offseason checking those boxes.
Yeah, Arthur Smith. I mean, Connor Hawkins is a close second. No disrespect to our new kicker, who has 3 years of eligibility left, too, because he redshirted his first year at Baylor and then was really good as a redshirt freshman this past year. Now he's coming at Ohio State as a third-year sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
I think the biggest thing for me, as I think you know, is I wanted them to get an offensive coordinator from the outside, and they had to check certain boxes. And I didn't even have former NFL head coach as one of those boxes. That's just a bonus. And I keep going back to when he had – Derrick Henry is pretty good running back. You know, I say that tongue in cheek. He's a Hall of Fame running back. So, yeah, I mean, they had the number 3 total offense in the NFL one of his years. He was, the offensive coordinator with the Titans 2 years. One of the years they were number 3 total offense, number 4 scoring offense in the NFL. Yeah, Derrick Henry and a good offensive line is a big part of that. But Tannehill had his best year of his career. And I like that Arthur Smith is one of these guys. He's got a little urban mentality in him, not schematically necessarily, but mentality. Like, I'm going to keep running this until you stop it. Oh, you know Derrick Henry's getting the ball? Great. Try and stop it. Oh, now you're going to stack the box? Okay, Ryan Tannehill is even going to beat your number 2 corner in zero coverage. So I think getting Arthur Smith, that was the biggest box I needed to see checked, and it was. And then I think they did a good job in the portal. I give them a solid B+ in the portal, getting guys like Terry Moore, Earl Little Jr. Selfishly, I would have liked to get 3 defensive tackles in the portal. I don't think that was realistic. They got 2 with James Smith and John Walker. Maybe I would like to see another edge rusher, but they got 1. So, yeah, I think overall, I think they did check all the necessary boxes. We definitely agree that Fridays with Jay, but no, I shouldn't say that. There we go. So I did want to get to somebody asked one of our guys ran into Ryan Day in Vegas. You're living it right. Jason, he said, does anyone know why Ryan Day was in Vegas this weekend and met him at a club at Caesars? My guess is he's just on vacation, with his family, hopefully just getting some R&R. I know he was, I believe he was off last week. I'm not sure where he was. Let these guys rest up and then get rolling for spring ball. So I'm guessing that's why he was in Vegas. But
who knows? I mean, these guys are traveling all around right about now. Did you see that that Matt Patricia and OG Walt and Matt Guerrero, those guys flew down to Oklahoma to surprise Caleb Downs? I guess he was being honored at some type of ceremony, and those guys flew in from Columbus down to Oklahoma. He didn't know that they were going to arrive. And lo and behold, he's there. Matt Patricia was able to talk to some guy who had a camera there and just whipped it out and did a kind of an impromptu conversation with Patricia. And it was fascinating because Patricia said that he's really looking forward to this year. They're losing a lot of players on that defense, but he's very excited to get the next wave of guys, and he can't wait to get back after it. So a lot of people who are worried about Matt Patricia because you haven't heard any news, I would say that probably can rest a little easy after you hear those comments about how excited he is to get back at it, coach this defense, talked about his love for Ohio State and how the game day atmosphere just absolutely blew his mind.
The chat is undefeated. We have James saying he thinks that Ryan Day is in Vegas because RJ has a 7-on-7 tournament. That's a good place to have a 7-on-7 tournament. Guys get to go to Vegas when it's 20 degrees here in Columbus. RJ, as I call him, the assistant offensive coordinator. He's right there. I mean, why wouldn't he be? He's right there next to his dad on the sidelines wearing the Ohio State gear, entering his senior year at DeSales, got several D1 offers. Good. That's awesome. Get Orlando Pace in here, David says, as offensive line coach. Yeah, well, that's another reason I like the Arthur Smith hire. I've talked about this a lot. Background in offensive line, was an offensive lineman himself at North Carolina, broke into the coaching profession as an offensive line coach. So I love that. I love that, they needed – the passing game is going to be more than fine with Ryan Day. They needed someone to come in like Chip Kelly did that could really enhance this running game, help the offensive line out. And a couple more things. I think the most important thing is becoming a good short yardage team, becoming a good red zone team, everything that a goal line, everything that's included with that. I want you to touch on that. Do you think that they're going to go from, because they were one of the worst in the country in 2023 in those situations, goal line, red zone, anything like that, short yardage. And they're one of the best, probably the best in the country in 2024 as far as the Power 4 teams, one of the worst again this past season. Can they get better in those types of situations, J-Book? And then what about pace of play? Do you think they're going to scrap the idea of let's go as slow as possible, and just do more of a Kurt Signetti style? Or what do you think about those two topics?
Yeah, it's fascinating because Ryan Day was truly convinced that this was the way to go. I wonder if you gave him some truth serum, that if you ask him right now, do you still wish that was the way that you guys operated all season long? Because clearly when you listen to his comments, when he said, when the time comes, we'll be able to turn up the gas. And I think they found themselves in a situation, Dave, that because they didn't do it all season, when the time came, they weren't able to do it. And that right there cost them big time because you just can't. In college football, these teams are too good. There's too much money that's flowing around. These defensive coordinators are all being paid millions of dollars. You just cannot, at the snap of a finger, just all of a sudden just change what your identity have been all season long and expect these kids to operate at a high level when they haven't shown that they can do it all season long. So I do think that he's going to trend away from that. Kurt Signetti was on he was on a recent podcast. I think it was Urban Meyer, the Triple Option podcast. And I thought Urban was going to black out because they asked Kurt Cinetti about how he goes about making sure that his players are fresh. And the one thing that Cinetti said is, we don't practice very long on the field, and we also don't utilize all of our NCAA allotment of practice. We've never used all of our time in the spring, and we never use all of our time during fall camp or during the week. And Urban was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Like, you could just see the wheels turning. Like, how is this even possible? Because he comes from that old school. Is we're going to practice until these guys are dog tired. Well, Signetti said the reason that we're able to stay fresh and operate is because we figured that, hey, as long as we are efficient at what we do during practice, we can stay healthy. And that right there kind of allowed them to be able to pick up their pace when they needed to, because Indiana wasn't necessarily the most sped up team on offense. They was kind of down in that bottom half, but they were really good at critical situations, being able to turn on that gas when they need it. Because you look at that national championship against Miami, they had 4 possessions alone in the fourth quarter. So did Miami, and you can make an argument they needed every one of those possessions to get out of that game. Now, as far as Ryan Day, I do believe he will learn from this. When you look at everything that has failed within the program, you typically see Ryan Day make a pivot specifically from those failures. So I do think the pace of play is going to pick up. Now, as far as the run game here, it can only go up. I mean, when you look at Arthur Smith and his tenure as a play caller, he's been able to have very solid run games, and I think his style of play and what he's going to be able to call will complement Ryan Day's pass game. Now, a lot of people complained about Arthur Smith hire at the time, and my argument was, hey, if you're getting the NFL mind in your offensive staff room who's going to be able to help game plan at an elite level, who will be able to take the play calling duties fully off Ryan Day's plate, allow Ryan Day to do what he does best, which is be a CEO of the program. That's when he's operating at max capacity. That tells me right there, between those couple items, that he's going to be an upgrade of what we had last year. No shade towards Brian Hartline.
Circling back toward the original topic, like, did they check all the necessary boxes? I need to. You touched on this a little bit, like retaining Matt Patricia, just huge, and they haven't officially officialed it yet, but like they're going to, is what we're told. That expect that soon. I've had the story written for like a month and a half. It's been in our admin that Matt Patricia is returning, because we heard a while ago they were very optimistic. But it sounds like his agent talked him into there's no reason to sign it now. Wait till the NFL seed. Make sure no one's going to offer you $7 million to come be their defensive coordinator. Let's wait for all the NFL jobs to settle down. So
let me ask you this. Yeah, let me ask you this about Patricia, because he technically is still under contract, or because he signed a 2-year contract when he came here last year. Is he going to coach under that contract, or are they going to give him a massive raise and tear up that contract and give him a new one? Because if Ross Bjork is smart, he will make him the highest paid defensive coordinator in college football and extend that bad boy to at least 4 years.
Well, I think what they're going to do is they're going to increase it from, it was right around 2 million, maybe a little bit north of that, to 3 million is what I've heard, right around there. Those are not, it's not like a hard number, but right around there. And maybe it is that an exact number of 3 million, right around there. So yeah, he's going to get a nice bump. He's making maybe 2.1. I'll have to go back and look what he was making this past year. He's going to get a nice bump. But I think they're okay with, if he's 2 and done, I think they're okay with that, because it's a page out of the Saban book. Saban would do this, and guys like Sark would, they were down and out. People had kind of written them off, and then bam, he hires Sark. It was like coaching rehab. Patricia was out of football for a whole year. Yeah. And even before that, he was like an analyst or something for like a year. So like, and now he's going to be a hot commodity. I think they're okay, J-Book. I think, that would have been tough losing him after 1 year, like they did with Hafley, like Chip Kelly. But so I think they're okay with 2 years. Same thing with Arthur Smith. Now there's a chance he's going to be one and done if the North Carolina job opens up, which it probably will, and they offer it to him. He might, being a former North Carolina player, he might be interested in that head coaching job. I think they're even okay with that as long as it goes well. Like Chip Kelly, they won a national championship. No one has any regrets there. So I hear what you're saying. I'd like to lock him up for 4 years. Yeah. I think just the fact getting him back for a second year is good, and we just go from there.
Because here's why I say that. I had somebody message me about Jarquez Carter, and I was told, take it for what it's worth, that he was asked to enter the portal. Remember Ryan Day said there were several kids that they asked to enter the portal, and one of the reasons why is it was more of, hey, we like you, but we don't think that you necessarily fit the Matt Patricia scheme. There's nothing wrong with that. That is perfectly fine. And so when I hear that, and if it is true, that tells me that Matt Patricia is putting his thumbprint on the roster to where he's saying, hey, let's start targeting specific guys that will fit my scheme, especially up front with the big belly guys in the middle of my defense. I want guys that are much bigger. So if you're encouraging people who may be on the Matt Patricia, people who are trying to be fit into his scheme, then I think he might be here much longer. What do you think? That, I mean, if he's putting his thumbprint on the roster.
Yeah, and I know he's happy. I think that's the thing. I think all along he was just like, yeah, I want to come back for a second year. Let's get this done. And that was like a month and a half ago. And then I think, his agent probably doing his due diligence this is what I was told. This is not gospel. I was just told, listen, his agent he's going to stay, but his agent kind of talked him into, hey, let's just be smart here. Just wait it out. And then, but yeah, he's happy. His family's happy. He's got for being a guy, I mean, he's not like an old, he's like 50, I think he's like 52 years old, right around there, but he's got like a relatively young kids. Like him and his wife had kids like relatively late, like comparatively speaking. But I know his kids are happy. He's happy. Wife's happy. Happy wife, happy life, right? So
yeah,
he loves working with Ryan Day. It's not working for Ryan Day. He loves everything about it, but all it takes is one NFL team to be like, oh, we love that you love that. Do you want to come here and we're going to give you like $7 million to be our DC, or maybe even he'll get a second head coaching gig? I think that's unlikely.
Well, he also said that his wife really appreciates the family atmosphere that Ryan Day has created, which is vastly different than the NFL. I kind of have a problem right now, Dave, to be honest with you, with the NFL on how they're trying to celebrate coaches being absentee fathers. And you're starting to see it where, coaches are saying, hey, if you spend too much time with your family, that's a negative thing in the NFL. Whereas in college, you're starting to see programs are keeping coaches around because they're completely doing the opposite. You're getting paid as well as the NFL. Nowadays, you don't have to recruit like you used to 10 years ago. And on top of that, we're going to create an atmosphere to where we want your family to be around. We want you to be involved with your kids' life. Bring your kids to the facility. Bring your wife to the facility and let them hang out. I truly believe that that's something to be said. If you're a coach to say, hey, I have an opportunity here to be in a place that is really cool, that's paying me really well. And then on top of that, I'm being encouraged to be a better father, to be there for my kids, to be more involved with my family, bring them around so that they can hang out and build relationship with the players. Whereas in the NFL is, we want you in the building from sun up to sundown. If you're missing kids' events, then so be it. I mean, Bruce Arians was the outlier because he wanted to fire. He said he'll fire coaches if they miss any of their kids' events. But the way the NFL's trending, I think you might start seeing a lot more guys getting into the college ranks, especially if you can pull a Arthur Smith where you don't have to go on the road and recruit.
It's a great point. I'm so glad you brought that up. Like, I don't talk about this stuff enough. It's just stuff that I've seen all the time that I probably should talk about more. We know on game days, we see him like at, we were talking about RJ Day. that's one of many examples, but assistant coaches, their families are all around. We know that at games and stuff. I'm telling you, after every practice, when we're over there, whether practice is open the few times a year that it is, we'll get a few in spring, we'll get a few during fall camp, and then we'll get a few during bowl season when they have to open them up. But during the season, we really don't get to see practices. But we're over there all the time as practice is wrapping up, getting ready for interviews. And man, it is like the entire, everybody's family is there. Like the wives are there, the kids, the wives are all like hanging out, and the assistant coaches. And, you know, Nina's not there as much probably, but like she's still, I see her there a lot. All the wives of the assistant coaches and sometimes Nina are hanging out. All the kids are hanging out. It really is a family atmosphere over there. And like to illustrate your point, like the Vikings GM that was just fired. A big reason I think was probably more so that, you know, Sam Darnold left and they thought JJ McCarthy was the guy. Then Sam Darnold goes and wins the Super Bowl. Now, did they win that Super Bowl on the strength of their defense and running game? Yes, but still. But yeah, I'm sure you saw this. He got a lot of flack, and some people like on the record won't admit it, but internally there were a lot of eyebrows raised that he took 2 weeks, not 2 months, during the offseason, took 2 weeks off for paternity leave. His wife just had a baby, took 2 weeks off. And that was looked upon negatively in the NFL.
Yeah. And supposedly it was a pretty rough pregnancy to where there were some complications as well. And he wanted to be there. I mean, I'm all anytime you put a situation to where it's a negative for a father to be in a kid's lives, that right there, I'm like, nah, man. And, you know, McDonald won the Super Bowl with Seattle. However, he has a 1-year-old, and he basically said he sees his kid about 30 minutes a week during the season. Like, come on, man. Like, go home. Like this, like how much game tape do you need to watch on your left or your or one-on-one tapes of your third string left tackle? Is he kick setting right in one-on-one matchups during practice? Like, dude, go home, be a father. And when you're great at your job, and I don't believe that you need to be an absentee father to be great at your job. There's something to be said about fulfillment of being not only a family person, but being good at your job. Like if you're burning one end of the candle, something's going to come due at the very end. And I really appreciate that Ryan Day makes it a situation to where these guys, hey, you're going to work hard. Sometimes you will be required to work long hours, but we highly encourage you to get the kids in here and make them part of this Ohio State family. And the one thing that you can say that the coaches do a really good job at, the players also have a really good relationship with their kids. And the kids really get to know specifically like their position group and stuff. And you see like during picture day and all that stuff, and like the players are taking pictures with like the kids, and the kids are like hanging out with like the players because they know, okay, this is my dad's position group. And so they know everything about those players, and the players, they all treat the kids like they're like one of their little siblings or something.
And now there's all this evidence, there's all this proof out there that if you're a coach, coming to work for Ryan Day is good business. I mean, and there's all these guys that can give like testimonials about how well it worked out for them. Jeff Hafley, let's start with that. That was the first hire Ryan Day made, unless you count like retaining certain guys like Kevin Wilson. Brings in Jeff Hafley. He turns that into a head coaching job, make $20 million at Boston College, $5 million a year. Turns that into an NFL defensive coordinator job. Now he's the head coach of the Miami Dolphins. And that was all jump started at Ohio State. You know, some of these guys that like kind of were down and out, you know, Chip Kelly's, reputation wasn't very good. He comes here, wins a national title. Your Raiders pay him $6 million to coach most of a full season. I think they still owe him money too. Matt Patricia, as I said, out of football, he comes here, bam, he turns them into the number one defense in the country. Yeah, a lot of talent, but still. And then now if things work out like I think they will with Arthur Smith. So you have all these examples, and I think now it's going to attract, assuming Ryan Day is going to stay here for a while, which I think he will, other top coaches. Like, that's a great place to be. The family atmosphere, I can make a lot of money, like you're saying, same amount of money as the NFL. I don't necessarily have to recruit because I could be one of those 10, not one of those 10 coaches that has to recruit, which I think Arthur Smith, that was a big reason why I think he was willing to come here. Yeah, so it's like you have all this proof now that working for Ryan Day is good business if you're an assistant coach.
Well, I'm willing to bank. I say Arthur Smith, as long as Ohio State offense is prolific and he really puts his thumbprint on this offense, I will say within the next 2 years he'll be the head coach at North Carolina. I don't think Bill Belichick is going to last very much longer. And he was a finalist for the North Carolina job when they were going through that hiring process before. Now that he has dipped his toes back into the college rank, he's going to have that on his resume as Ohio State's offensive coordinator. That's going to carry a lot of cachet, especially down south. And he's going to be another one that we look at and says, came to Ohio State, parlay that into a potential head coaching job. Or you look at other, Matt Barnes went from here as kind of a position coach to a defensive coordinator down at Memphis. Memphis was in the hunt for the Conference USA championship. So you talking about a position coach here that went and parlayed that into a DC job. So the opportunities when you're coaching here, it definitely parlays into something better if you decide to leave, unless you're asked to leave for whatever reason. That usually doesn't turn out so well. But, look at Brian Hartline himself. Coach here under Ryan Day's coaching tree, parlay that into a head coaching job. I would not be surprised if Coach Key, after this year, goes from someone who was a wide receiver assistant coach, got promoted to a tight ends coach. Don't be surprised if you see Coach Key next year take on an offensive coordinator role somewhere. And if that's the case, then you look at that as, hey, this is someone who went through the ranks in Ryan Day's coaching tree within the program, and they were able to parlay that into something bigger.
It's like other than Kerry Combs, right? Like all of his coordinators. Kevin Wilson, he was a previous head coach at Indiana, but he parlayed his recent offensive coordinator job into a Tulsa head coaching job. Wasn't there long, but still, as you mentioned, Brian Hartline, even the guys that don't go to become head coaches, like a Justin Fry was at UCLA as offensive line coach. Ohio State brings him in, offensive line coach, run game coordinator. I think he was offensive coordinator at UCLA too, in name only. Yeah. And now he's with the Arizona Cardinals, doesn't have to recruit, which he never liked recruiting. He's got a nice cushy job in the
Corey Dennis.
Even Corey Dennis. Yeah, who's he with? UNLV?
He's calling the plays at UNLV, and they have one of the best offenses in college football right now. And Corey Dennis, if he keeps it up within a year or two, he's going to be calling plays at a major Power 5 program. You went from, hey, we don't know who you are, you're Urban's son-in-law, to, hey, we're going to make you the quarterback coach he learned under Ryan Day. And after that, he parlayed that into a offensive coordinator position at UNLV that had a very high-powered offense this year.
Under Urban's guy, Dan Mullen. That's a tight fraternity, coaching circles, that's for sure. Great stuff as always from Mr. Jonah Booker. Thank you, Jay Book. I appreciate it, sir.
All right, take care. Talk to you next week.
Have a good weekend, bud.
You too.
Enjoy that 80-degree weather. I'm not jealous as once, because 50 degrees is going to feel like 80 here in Columbus. We're going to get up to 50 tomorrow, and then we're going to be nothing but in the 50s for like the next couple of weeks. So I'm good. Well, assuming that, 14-day forecasts are accurate, which is always the case, right? But look at this. Like high of 50 tomorrow, 54 on Monday, 57, 58, 58, 58. All through next week. I guess then it does a dip to 43 next Saturday, then back up to 50 next Sunday. But we got over a week of in the 50s after the most brutal winter I can remember in Columbus. So J-Book has said it's hit spring out there. That's 80 degrees out there in Maricopa County. Beautiful area of the country. I love it down there. All right, my friends, great stuff out of J-Book as usual. Thanks to all of you as usual. I appreciate it very much. I hope all of you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend. Go Bucks.